to everyone coming in from around the world. We've got a great webinar for you today, and it is all about the product of Guide, workflow automation. So we're going to go in great detail into what Guide is and how it works, how it's different from technologies that have been around for a long time now that AI is injected into it. And we're also going to do a live demonstration. So feel free to jump in the chat and ask questions or provide comments along the way. This is very interactive, and that's the intention today, okay? So let's just jump straight in. Since this is about a half an hour webinar, we are going to cover everything in 30 minutes today. And listen, if you have additional questions that you have that are coming in later on or something you think of later, just send me an email. And you'll see that contact information right after we're done here, okay? All right, so listen, what we've got today for an agenda is to go to Guide, Workflow Automation, and to introduce it to you and talk to you all about what it is and how it works, and even show you a little sort of canned recording of this. And we have plenty of those on our YouTube channel also, so if you want to see it in action, I'll give you that link at the end. We're also going to do a live demonstration, so I'm going to just run this thing live for you, bring it up on the screen and do a little demonstration and do it real time. The demonstration of the product running in this example takes about 7 minutes. So it's pretty straightforward, but it really goes through all the little steps from beginning to end. And at the end, we'll talk about how to get started with Guide, right? And that is to go to the website, click, download it, get started. We make it easy for you, and we help you along the way also. All right? Well, let's just jump right in. Now, what we do want to do is compare this to yesteryear, and there's a lot of RPA that's out there already. Well, RPA, as you can see on the bottom of the screen, is remote process automation, and this has been around for a while, and this is essentially recording screens and then, mimicking this behavior over and over to try to take some of these repetitive tasks away from you. The challenge is there's no real intelligence built in. It's really recording every single XY coordinate move and so forth with the screen and the mouse and the keyboard in that. And if anything changes, well, it kind of breaks. So what happened and how is this different? Well, if you look at this left side here, who can build these RPAs? Well, it's really a developer. And as you see with Guide in the Guide column, it's very different. It's no code associated with this. This is all Guide is prompt-based, AI prompting-based, and you're going to see that in a live example. Now, the workflows are very limited in the RPA side. It's just limited to what you can actually do in the recording space, and yet on Guide, it's really anything. Because remember, workflow automation, GUI, is anything that you can go and do on a Windows machine where you take a mouse and you point and you click and you do data entry and you access anything. You're accessing web pages, you're accessing Windows applications, data, files, just anything you can do with a mouse and a keyboard. You can do with Guide, and you can automate those actions also. Now, historically, this would take quite a bit of time and actually be very expensive. The developers cranking away at the RPA, trying to get it right. And oftentimes you can see the brittleness is high. If anything changes and the data has moved on the screen, it just breaks. It can't, it's clicking in an area, there is nothing. Well, that doesn't happen in Guide, because every time something happens on the screen with Guide, we take a screenshot of it, pop it into an AI processing engine, and we evaluate the screen. Oh, look at that, the button moved today, or the data that came out today is very different than yesterday. Well, I can intelligently process that and make the adjustments that are required. And so it's a very different world. It's very fluid and very dynamic. So this RPA world, some of you might have been familiar with this, maybe you're running a lot of this, the robotic process automation. You can see here, like I just had talked about a moment ago, it's gonna do like high volume activity for you, repetitive tasks and all that. It's recording it. The problem is that if there's any changes in the UI, the thing is just going to stop and break. It's kind of like trying to do automation with a blindfold on, right? And so when you think about Guide, it's doing automation with your eyes wide open and evaluating everything on the screen and every change that happens along the way. All right, so now what do we got? Well, this world that we talk about is 80+% workflows in the enterprise are GUI-based, right? And so everything that's going on is people on screens, clicking away. And sure, there's a lot of sort of API activity and database activity in there, but it isn't really the lion's share. There's so much more that's really human-based, and we can come in and automate that. And so what happens is you do have, AI tools that are doing API calls already today, and they're doing a great job at that. That's beautiful and wonderful. But there's also, a world where the API tools can't reach applications that don't have APIs. Now you have UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism coming in and doing the RPA as we talked about, and it's getting a little, as we talked about, brittle, and those are the problems and the challenges in there, and that's what we're going to talk about today to make sure we overcome those issues, and that's the idea. Okay, so now what do? I tell you what we do is we come in here and we talk about, the vision that since this is prompt based, this is really anyone that can actually do this, okay? And that is the idea, workflow in minutes. So what are some examples of that? Well, what we've got here is many high value GUI workflow examples of different sort of opportunities within a company. It could be marketing, legal, finance, IT, all being automated inside the organization. And inside the organization, those repetitive processes that are happening on top of a Windows environment can just be sort of evaluated and kind of described in great detail, and then can be automated. And that's what we're going to show you guys today. So really what this comes down to is the Guide platform creating these AI agents, and here's the process it goes through. The first thing is you build it, and we're going to show you that today a couple of different ways. And when you build this prompting mechanism to do the automation, once it's done and working and it's great, then you just invoke it. Where do you want to run it? Well, if you're already using your current PC, you can't run it there. So you actually need to run it maybe on a VM, right? A virtual machine. Let it run on a virtual machine and do all the automation. And maybe when you come in the morning, it's all done. Thank you for getting that work done. And that's the part about invoking it somewhere. And then so when you do, then it runs. And when it runs, well, that's one person. But maybe you need lots of people, hundreds or thousands of folks doing it all at the same time. And that is scaling it out. And Workspot, together with Guide, does the automation on top of the virtual machine platform in the cloud. We'll talk a little more about that as well. And then you want observability on top of this. You really want to be able to see what's happening, if there's any issues, the performance related associated with this, and the productivity. So that is also built in. All right, well, here's an example of this. Okay, so, and again, I'll show you at the end the YouTube channel site where you can go and watch many of these. But this is an example where we go and we pull in the latest Microsoft CVE examples. Okay, so we want to get those bug and severity reports pulled in, and we're going to take that and we're going to inject that into ServiceNow to create incidents for an IT person to follow up, and then send a note off to the observability or the executive team through Teams, and you could do Slack and you could do email as well. So this is what Guide looks like here. And what happens is you come in here, you hit the plus sign to create a new workflow. And so you give it an agent name and a persona, and then you drop in the instructions of what you want it to do. It's automation. Okay, and then you'll talk about how many iterations you suspect, and you'll hit save, and then it goes off and it creates this here. These are the detailed prompts, the step-by-step prompts that will actually create the automation that goes across the graphical user interface and automates this process. Okay, then you invoke it. You can invoke this and have it run. You can run on your local machine. You can have it run on a remote machine, and off it goes. And then this is what it looks like when it runs. Okay, so here it's running. And the first thing it's doing is it's opening up a browser and it's grabbing some information. Again, this is automated. There's hands off. This is going on in the system by itself, right? And so from there, what does happen is it opens up the various different applications. It grabs the information, the variables that it needs, and you can see now it's got that information. It's going into ServiceNow, and it's injecting it in and creating incidents associated with the CVEs that it found online. Just a very simple example. As we talk to our customers, sort of IT focused, this is an example that kind of resonates. They also would have all sorts of other things that they would do, running scripts, PowerShell, whatever it might be, and pulling reports, pulling spreadsheets, and so forth. And that is what is going to be automated. And if you can do it, if you can define it, then the prompts can be built and then it can be automated. And that's the idea. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and look at a live demonstration of this. And so I've got Guide running here on the screen. And you can see I've got Guide set up over here. And just like we saw in the demonstration, if I hit the plus sign over here, I'll say get the Microsoft CVE. And you know what I want here is I want the the top 5, okay? And so we'll say that this is an IT manager. And then what I've got is I've got all those instructions already kind of created over here. So what I can do is I can pop into the workflow and drop those in. And you'll see it's like step by step. It's like I want to launch a browser. I want to scroll through the table. I want to pull the top 5 visible CVEs out. I want to put it in an Excel spreadsheet and do a few things, okay? So I hit next. Now I go into here and I want to increase maybe the iterations. That's every time it goes to AI to evaluate what's going on. I want to keep the display resolution kind of low because those screenshots should be small and effective. And that is one great way of doing that. And the model I'm going to use on the back end for the CU model, the evaluation is Claude Opus 4.6, one of the later models. Now, when I hit save on this, it takes all this information and those instructions, the high-level instructions that I gave it, and from that, it actually creates this amazing full detailed prompts that are actually used to run the automation. So it takes a minute here. It kind of churns away. It evaluates it. It uses AI, of course, in this case, to create those prompts. And then there they are. Okay, so the prompts are all there and ready to go. Now, what happens is all of these different steps are set, detailed prompts, variables, the whole deal. And then I can say, hey, do I want to run this local or remote? Well, I'm going to go ahead and run this remote so that I can show it to you right here. Now, when I say run, it's going to run this thing. It's going to play it. And you'll see that you have right there the instructions on the left side. And then you have the runtime notes over on the right-hand side. Okay. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the screen here so that you can actually see it because it just opened up over on my screen. And I will go ahead and grab that and move it over so that you can see it over here. Okay, so this is the RDP session and it is executing on a remote machine. So what do we have here for the demo? We've got guide, step-by-step prompting, variables, actions, and all that. And then we can see over on the left side, that is the remote VM. That is the PC effectively being automatically and automated, right? That is the workflow that's going on. So the first thing it does is it goes off to the website, to Microsoft, and pulls their CVE report. Okay, so you can see that. And then over on the right-hand side, what we have here is we have all of the status values and the variables and the actions that are going on. So we can see right here, the initial setup, extract the CV values, put it in the Excel spreadsheet. So click, click, click. As these things finish up, you'll see little check marks go in those. Those are the various steps. Each step is filled with some prompts and prompting activity, right? And so that's the idea. Now it fills all that up. And it cranks through this thing, and it is going quite well. So that's the good thing. You can see the status there. And look at this. You can see down here, if you were to click on this link right here, that is the screenshot that was taken when it was sent, over to the AI engine to say, hey, this is what I'm seeing on the screen. I know the next thing to do is this. What would be the XY coordinates to do that? So it could be clicking into a field and doing data entry. It could be clicking on a menu. It could be a number of different things that it could do. All right. And so while that's happening there, you, as the person running guide and developing this, gets to see both worlds. You can see each one of the commands that are being run, and you can see a little status here. It's like MSRC vulnerabilities page with 5-row visible in the table. All data is clearly readable. Well, that's good. And you can see it here. It has actually read that data, right? So I said, pull the top 5, row 1 through 5. You can see all the data here. So that means guide has actually read all that information, right? So that's good. It's got it. And the next thing it's going to do is open up a spreadsheet. And then when it does, it's going to put in the column headers up top because that was defined in the prompting. And then, of course, all of the top 5 CVEs and all of its data are going to be injected into the spreadsheet also. Okay, so you can see what we're doing here is iteration 8, in this process. So we opened up different screens, we read different values. Each time we did that, we went over and we took a screenshot, we had it evaluated, we brought it back. And it's interesting, it's a number of things. It's not only that you not only tell it the things that you want it to do, you also tell it the things that you don't want it to do. All right, so I wanted to go to the CVE screen and pull the top 5. but I don't want it to click on any of the links and go into subsequent pages and dig deeper and get sort of lost on the website. So you can tell it that, right? You can also say, you know, when I get into the spreadsheet, as you can see it's doing now, you know, pop the data into here, okay? And then when I get all 5 streams of CVE data, then I'm going to go and inject all that in as well. And then after that, one of the last things that I'll have it do, it's in the prompt here, is to format. Okay, so you know, click in the upper left-hand corner, which highlights everything, and then it'll do an auto column format, and that'll be great. All right, so as this thing's cranking along, we can again go down into the status and see we're on iteration 11 here. You know, the automation is kicking in, and we've got information set up right here. So observations, the formula bar A1 is release date, you know, header visible in that. That's cool. So the Excel spreadsheet, you know, is set up here, and it sees that the information is going in great. So that's cool. And it knows that. So now it puts the cursor in A2, and then you can see what it's doing now. It starts filling in all those data values. So that's the idea. You know, what do I want to automate? I can automate anything. But in this case, I just wanted to go to a website, grab the top 5, pull them back, open up a spreadsheet, and then inject them all into the spreadsheet. And then I'm going to come in here and I can see, you know, that it's full. And then what happens is I'm going to format this. So that'll happen next. Now, there's all sorts of things you could continue to do if we wanted to run the demo longer. You could save the file off to a OneDrive. You could take that link off OneDrive and email it to someone, or text it, or Teams it, or Slack it off to someone as well. As you saw in the prior demo that I talked about, and you'll see this on our website, I took each of these 5 and I used each one to create an incident within ServiceNow. So do you have ServiceNow applications, Jira applications, Salesforce, whatever it might be? Whatever the applications you are, if you can grab a mouse and point and click and do data entry into those and pull values out, then you can automate that too. And it's just a matter of prompting. Can you get the prompting set up such that it's articulate enough to do that? Now, this is running seamlessly. You know, I've run this one before, and I know that this one is actually great, you know, but when I first built it, if I ran into any snags, I would stop the workflow and I would look where it got, you know, confused potentially, and then I would tighten up the prompts, make the prompts a little better. And the nice thing is Guide actually fixes those prompts. It gives you recommendations. Oh, this prompt took too long in this loop and it got confused. Here's a new prompt for you. So Guide actually helps you with that also. It makes that much easier. So that's cool. And you can see now it's finishing up. Clicked, highlighted everything in the spreadsheet, and it's going to come down to the format menu, and then it'll go down to auto fit column width. And when it finishes auto column width, then it's all cleaned up, and you can see it all right there. And so the prompting that I'd set up for this was to do that, and then to sort of click away and then be done, stop processing. Okay, and so that's an example here. It took about 7 minutes, you know, and essentially that is the processing time to do something like this, to go to a website, pull some values, open a spreadsheet, inject them in, and all along the way, it's not only doing these things that I asked, but it's constantly checking to make sure that everything is good. And you can see, you know, now that it's done, it actually closes that RDP session, and you're right back into Guide. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. It is interesting to know what the real-time sort of experience is, because when you watch the videos that I have online, I've taken out all the pauses, all the waiting time, and I've made them faster. So what could be a very elaborate automation might take actually 20 minutes to run, but I knock it down to 2 minutes so that you can see the automation that it's doing. But, you know, the real-time processing, evaluating screenshots, doing things, checking your work and making sure it's accurate, you know, those things can take a little time. And so that is the idea. So that's it. So that's the Guide live demo example. Okay, so it's that easy. Hopefully that gives you a feel for how it is working with these things. And as you truly create these and want to scale them out, then what you've got is, you know, Workspot platform here. So you can run VMs in AWS, Google, Akamai, Azure. You can run them anywhere globally around the world and scale them out. You might have relationships with these cloud folks already, but even if you don't, Workspot will not only provide Guide for you, but then the notion of the backend cloud platforms to run as many as you needed also and integrate it into your systems. Okay. So when all that's running, as I mentioned, observability is key. So we do have Workspot Watch and Trends that evaluates all that telemetry and everything that's happening real time, as well as trend analysis on top of all this to show you the performance and the utilization and everything. So you're going to love that too. So when you get into pricing on this, you can talk to the sales folks about this in greater detail. Platform fee, token fee, the whole AI world is based on tokens now, and so you want to make sure you understand that clearly and before you go forward, and that's part of the conversation. And also, right now, which is pretty cool, is we have a Lighthouse customer program that actually brings you into the fold here and allows you to engage in an even more cost-effective way. The goal, as you can see, is discover with you your high value automation, like what is it you want to do in your organization, right? And we actually can have a field deployment engineer work with you to build some of this out and design and test some of this with you, and then even train your folks inside on how to do this. It's very straightforward, though. You did see an example. It's not code, it's prompting. So if you're into AI already and doing AI prompting, you're sort of halfway there. And then you get to use and get to be familiar with Guide and how it uses AI prompting and then back-end CU models to automate the GUI experience, okay? And then there's a great notion of, number of credits and unlimited access for a period of time. So just ask us about that and we'll tell you all about the Lighthouse program, okay? Well, and getting started working with us, you got to know there's a lot of assets. The website is runguide.ai. Go there, check everything out. You can download it and run it right now, a 30-day free trial. And you should definitely click the link that takes you to our YouTube channel, because there you're going to find that all of these recorded videos and various things are there to help you throughout and allow you to sort of learn much more quickly than doing this on yourself. And there's a knowledge base in there too that's quite helpful, okay? So that is it for today's webinar. I hope you guys got a lot of value out of this. If you have any questions at all, you can always send me an email at brad.peterson@workspot.com. Hey, and I'm also at brad@runguide.ai. All right, you can do either one. So hopefully this is all wonderful and helpful for you guys. And I look forward to talking to you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.